It was the dawn of the Cold War, a time when fear itself seemed to breathe in every city, every shadow, every whisper. Two superpowers, United States and Soviet Union, stood locked in a silent duel for survival. The world had just witnessed the most terrifying weapon ever created, the atomic bomb. America alone possessed it, and for a moment it looked as if Washington controlled not just war, but the future of humanity itself. But in Moscow, behind the walls of the Kremlin, Joseph Stalin was not prepared to bow. He ordered his intelligence services to steal the crown jewel of American power. And somewhere in the midst of this great global rivalry, a quiet, ordinary man made a decision that would change history forever. His name was Klaus Fuchs, and he would become the spy who sold nuclear secrets to the Soviets. Fuchs did not look like the kind of man who could shake the world. Thin, bespectacled, reserved, he seemed more like a shy professor than a master traitor. Born in Germany, he had fled Hitler's rise and sought refuge in Britain, where his brilliance as a physicist quickly brought him into scientific circles. To his colleagues, he was hard-working, brilliant, trustworthy. To his handlers in Soviet intelligence, he was the perfect asset, an invisible man with access to humanity's deadliest secrets. When World War II erupted, Fuchs found himself recruited into Britain's nuclear research program, codenamed Tube Alloys. Later, as the Americans launched the Manhattan Project, Britain sent its top scientists to assist, and among them was Klaus Fuchs. In the deserts of Los Alamos, New Mexico, while Robert Oppenheimer and his team worked feverishly to design the bomb, Fuchs quietly absorbed every detail, every calculation, every blueprint. And at night, he passed those secrets to Soviet couriers who smuggled the information back to Moscow. He did not carry documents out in briefcases. He carried knowledge in his mind, equations, sketches, processes. He memorized them with precision, then reconstructed them for his Soviet handlers. Page by page, note by note, he helped deliver the atomic bomb to Stalin's regime. By the time the United States tested its first nuclear device in July 1945, Moscow was already racing to replicate it, guided by the stolen knowledge pouring out of Los Alamos. To Fuchs, this was not betrayal, but justice. He believed no single nation should control such a weapon. He convinced himself that by giving the bomb to both America and the Soviet Union, he was preserving balance, preventing domination, and keeping peace through mutual fear. Yet history would prove otherwise. His choices did not prevent war. They fueled the most dangerous arms race mankind had ever known. In 1949, just 4 years after Hiroshima, the Soviet Union stunned the world by detonating its own atomic bomb. American intelligence had believed such a feat was still years away. But suddenly, Washington's monopoly was gone, and the Cold War entered a terrifying new phase. The balance of power had shifted overnight. Politicians were shocked, generals panicked, and ordinary people began to live under the shadow of annihilation. And in Moscow, the spy masters toasted their victory. For a time, Fuchs remained untouchable. No one suspected the quiet scientist. He returned to Britain after the war, working at the Harwell Atomic Energy Research Establishment, still respected, still invisible. But secrets rarely stay buried forever. In the late 1940s, American cryptographers quietly began cracking encrypted Soviet communications. The program was called Venona, and within those decrypted messages, analysts saw hints of an unidentified source, codenamed REST, who had delivered nuclear secrets to Moscow. Slowly, carefully, investigators pieced together the puzzle, and the trail pointed straight to Klaus Fuchs. In 1950, MI5 summoned him for questioning. Fuchs tried to maintain his composure, but the weight of years of betrayal pressed against him. After hours of careful interrogation, his mask slipped. He confessed. Calmly, almost coldly, he admitted to passing atomic secrets to the Soviets for nearly a decade. His words sent shockwaves across Britain, America, and the entire Western Alliance. But his confession was only the beginning. Fuchs named his courier, a man named Harry Gold. gold, in turn, led authorities to David Greenglass, a machinist who had worked at Los Alamos. And Greenglass pointed to his brother-in-law, Julius Rosenberg. The Rosenbergs and their network became the centerpiece of one of the most sensational spy trials in American history. In 1953, Julius and his wife Ethel were executed in the electric chair, condemned as traitors who had aided the Soviets in building the bomb. Whether their guilt was exaggerated or not, one thing was clear. It was Fuchs who had opened the door to this chain of betrayal. For his role, Klaus Fuchs was sentenced to 14 years in prison in Britain. He served 9. And then, astonishingly, he was released and allowed to emigrate to East Germany, where he lived out the rest of his life as a decorated scientist under the communist regime. While in the West, he was remembered as a traitor. In the East, he was hailed as a hero who had helped level the balance of power. He died quietly in 1988, never apologizing, never expressing regret. But his legacy was darker than he imagined. The Soviets' rapid acquisition of nuclear weapons triggered an uncontrollable arms race. America responded with the hydrogen bomb, capable of devastation on an unimaginable scale. The Soviets matched them, and soon both sides possessed thousands of warheads. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 brought the world within a breath of nuclear war. Generations grew up under the shadow of annihilation, practicing drills in schools, fearing the mushroom cloud. And it had all begun with secrets whispered in the dark, carried across borders, and sold to an empire. To this day, historians debate Fuchs's motives. Was he a true believer in communism, convinced that Stalin's Soviet Union was the better guardian of humanity? Or was he simply an arrogant man, rationalizing his betrayal with ideology while serving his own ego? Did his actions prevent war by ensuring mutual destruction? Or did they make war more likely by arming both sides with weapons of extinction? These questions remain unanswered, lingering like ghosts over the ruins of the 20th century. But one fact cannot be denied. Klaus Fuchs' betrayal reshaped the world. Without him, the Soviets might have taken years longer to build their bomb. Without him, America might have remained unchallenged. Without him, the Cold War might have played out differently. One man, one quiet, invisible scientist, had shifted the balance of global power, not with armies or guns, but with equations and secrets slipped across the shadows. So here is the question: was Klaus Fuchs the greatest traitor of the 20th century? Or was he a misguided man who thought he was saving humanity from the tyranny of nuclear monopoly? Was he a villain, or was he a twisted kind of visionary? The answer may never be clear, but his story remains a chilling reminder of how the fate of nations can be altered not by generals or presidents, but by ordinary men who make extraordinary choices. And if this story shocked you, remember, it is only one of many. Behind the headlines of the Cold War lie dozens of untold stories, hidden betrayals, and spies who shaped history in silence. If you want to hear more stories the world was never meant to know, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the shadows still hold secrets waiting to be revealed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.